Hey guys, thank you so much for logging into my YouTube channel and watching this video lecture to review for your benchmark. We're going to go ahead and look at example 1. So number 1 will be very similar to the question on your benchmark. It says, which of the following is a function? So I have two mapping diagrams, and you may want to write this down on your study guide. For a mapping diagram to represent a function, each x value can only be used one time. Okay? So if I look at A, I see that my x value 1 is paired with, remember this is the x and this is the y. Remember my x value 1 is paired with multiple y values, and so A is not going to be a function, okay? And then if I look at B, I see that each of my x values of my mapping diagram, or what I could say the input, is only used one time. So 1 is paired with 4, 2 is paired with 3, and each of those x values are only used one time. Now my y value 4 does have two x values, but that's okay. It still represents a function because it would still pass a vertical line test if you were to graph these points on a coordinate plane. All right, let's go ahead and look at number 2. Feel free to pause the video if you need to. Just want to write the word yes there so you know that this is a function. For number 2, it says, does the graph represent a function? So this is an absolute value equation. And if I draw a vertical line through this graph, I see that I'm only going to hit the graph one time. Okay, and I could do that in multiple places. I would only hit the absolute value equation one time. So I could say, yes, it passes the vertical line test. It only passes through one point. So I'm going to go ahead and mark B. And again, if I'm going too fast, feel free to pause the video. Now for number 3, it says, which of the following relations is a function? Okay, so if I look at these equations right here, x equals 3.5. If I go to Desmos and I type in x equals 3.5, if you guys will remember, that's going to make a vertical line, so that's not going to pass the vertical line test. If I look at y equals 5x, and I type that into Desmos, okay, I see that y equals 5x is the same thing as y equals 5x plus 0. It has a y-intercept of 0, and then my slope from this point to my next point right here. Let's see if it'll label it. Okay, so my slope, it goes up 5 and then to the right 1. And so we know that this is going to be a linear equation right here. So which of the following relations below is a function? We're going to go ahead and say B. We know that y equals 5x is a linear equation. All right, go ahead and feel free to pause the video if you need to. Number 4, it says, which set of ordered pairs is not a function? All right, if you want to write this down, for the ordered pairs to represent a function, then each x value can only be used one time. So let's go ahead and see which one of these is used more than once. So I have -1 and I have 1. So I have the x value -1 and 1. So A is going to represent a function. For B, I have 0, 1, 2, and 3. So I know that my x value, remember this is the x and this is the y. I know that my x value is, again, just used one time, so B definitely represents a function. For C, I have the x value 1, and then I have the x value 1 again, but this is the same ordered pair, 1, 3. So actually, C still represents a function. Let's go ahead and look at D. So I have the x value -1, 1, and 1. So my x value is used more than once, and it's paired with multiple y values. So I know that D is not a function because the x value is paired with multiple y values. All right, let's go ahead and look at number 5. Number 5 is a little bit challenging. It says the table shows data for a classroom. Which given set of students is the relation a function for all ordered pairs in the set? So if the x value has more than one y value, then it is not a function. All right, so if we look at the student ID and we make that our x values, then I can see that each x value is only used one time. And then if I make the age my y value, then I'll see that each x value is only used one time, and even though it's paired with multiple y values like 15, then it's still going to represent a function. Now, if for some reason I made the age my x values and the student IDs my y values, then I would end up having an x value paired with multiple y values, and then it would not represent a function. But since this is the x value, student ID, and I'm going to call this my y values, it's okay that my x value 789 has a y value of 15, and my x value 854 has a y value of 15. So I'm going to go ahead and say the correct answer is C. And you might want to write this down. If the x value has more than one y value, then it is not a function. All right, let's go ahead and look at number 6. Number 6, which equation is not a linear function? So we know that a is a linear function. We've been working with equations in standard form where we have ax plus by equals c. So I know if I were to graph that or rewrite it in slope-intercept form, it would be a function. B is obviously a linear function as well because it's an equation written in slope-intercept form. C is a linear equation as well. It's going to be a horizontal line at -7, so it would just be a straight line at -7. And then let's look at D. So D is interesting because I have an exponent of 2 right here. So y equals x squared plus 3. If I go to Desmos graphing calculator and I type in y equals x squared plus 3, then I'm going to get a parabola, which kind of looks like a U. And we're going to talk about quadratic functions next semester. But this is not a linear equation. We know linear equations form a nice straight line. And so this is an example of a quadratic function. So I'm going to say that 6, for number 6, D is not a linear function because it's a quadratic function. And if you wanted to write that out, this is a quadratic function. The x value is squared, or is to the power of 2. All right, now finally, let's look at number 7. It says, which grid best shows a set of points that represent a linear relationship between x and y. So it's asking which one is a linear function, and a linear function makes a nice straight line. So really quickly, I can see that number B makes a nice straight line. If I kind of draw a line between these dots, I'm going to get a nice straight line here. So the correct answer is going to be B. This would show a linear relationship between my x values and my y values. All right, guys, thank you so much for looking over problems 1 through 7 for your benchmark review. I look forward to seeing you guys in class.